In a bustling city where skyscrapers kissed the clouds and streets pulsed with life, St. Jude's Medical Center stood as a beacon of hope and healing. Known for its state-of-the-art facilities and expert staff, the hospital attracted patients from all walks of life. However, beneath its polished exterior lay a troubling undercurrent of bias that would soon surface in a way no one could have anticipated. Meet Dr. Richard Collins. At the heart of this story was Dr. Richard Collins, a well-respected physician in his mid-40s. With a reputation for excellence in his field, he had dedicated his life to medicine, earning accolades for his surgical skills and patient care. However, Dr. Collins harbored implicit biases that he often failed to recognize, an unconscious prejudice that affected how he interacted with patients who were different from him. Dr. Collins prided himself on his professionalism, but he had grown accustomed to certain assumptions about his patients based on their appearance. He believed that his medical expertise transcended race and background, yet he often found himself making snap judgments about individuals without realizing it. The arrival of Sarah Johnson. Enter Sarah Johnson, a vibrant black woman in her early 30s who had recently moved to the city in search of better opportunities. Sarah was not only ambitious but also deeply committed to her community. She worked as a social worker, helping families navigate challenges and access essential resources. Her passion for her job was matched only by her desire to advocate for those who often felt voiceless. One afternoon, after experiencing severe abdominal pain that left her doubled over, Sarah decided it was time to seek medical attention. She made her way to St. Jude's Medical Center, hoping for answers and relief from her discomfort. The waiting room. As Sarah entered the hospital, she was struck by the bustling environment, the sound of nurses calling out names, the beeping of machines, and the murmur of worried families filled the air. She approached the reception desk and checked in, providing her insurance information while trying to mask her anxiety. After a brief wait, she was called back to an examination room by a nurse who guided her through the process with kindness. Sarah appreciated the nurse's warmth. It helped ease some of her apprehension about being in a hospital setting. However, as she sat in the stark white room waiting for Dr. Collins to arrive, she couldn't shake off a feeling of unease creeping in. It wasn't just about her physical pain. It was also about navigating a healthcare system that sometimes felt unwelcoming to people like her. The doctor's entrance. When Dr. Collins finally entered the room, he greeted Sarah with a polite smile, but quickly shifted his focus to his clipboard, rather than making eye contact. "So, what brings you in today?" he asked, flipping through her medical history. As Sarah began explaining her symptoms, describing the sharp pain and discomfort, she noticed Dr. Collins's body language shift slightly. He seemed distracted, almost dismissive as he jotted down notes without fully engaging with her concerns. "I see you have some history of gastrointestinal issues," he said matter-of-factly. "Have you been following up with your primary care physician?" "Yes," Sarah replied, trying to maintain composure despite feeling increasingly marginalized. "But this pain is different. It feels more intense." Dr. Collins nodded, but didn't seem fully invested in what she was saying. Instead, he glanced at his watch as if he were already planning his next appointment before even addressing hers. A dismissive attitude. As they continued their conversation, Dr. Collins's demeanor became more clinical and detached. He asked questions but didn't seem interested in understanding Sarah as an individual. Instead, he focused solely on symptoms and potential diagnoses. "Let's run some tests," he said abruptly after a brief examination without offering much explanation or reassurance about what might be causing her pain. Feeling frustrated by his lack of empathy, Sarah mustered up courage to speak up. "Doctor, I really need you to listen to me. This pain is affecting my daily life." Dr. Collins looked up momentarily surprised by her assertiveness, but quickly reverted back into his professional shell. "I'm sure we'll figure it out," he replied dismissively, before exiting the room without further discussion. The turning point left alone with her thoughts. Sarah felt a wave of disappointment wash over her. She had hoped for compassionate care, but instead felt like just another case number in an overcrowded system. After what felt like an eternity, the nurse returned with instructions for tests, but noticed Sarah's visibly distressed expression. "Are you okay?" she asked gently. "I just feel like I'm not being heard," Sarah admitted quietly as tears threatened spillover. The nurse nodded sympathetically. "I understand. It can be tough sometimes. But let me assure you, we're here to help." Feeling somewhat reassured by this interaction, Sarah took a deep breath, steeling herself for whatever lay ahead. The tests begin. As the tests began, Sarah underwent various procedures including blood work and imaging scans while anxiously awaiting results. Each moment felt like an eternity as she grappled with uncertainty surrounding health issues compounded by feelings of inadequacy stemming from previous interactions. Finally, after several hours spent waiting, Dr. Collins returned with results in hand. "All right," he said briskly, while scanning paperwork before meeting Sarah's gaze again. "We found some abnormalities in your test results." The revelation. At that moment, everything changed. Dr. Collins's tone shifted from clinical detachment to genuine concern as he began explaining findings more thoroughly. "Based on your DNA results, it appears you may have inherited certain genetic markers that could explain these symptoms." David's heart raced as she listened intently, trying to process information being presented. "Genetic markers?" she repeated slowly, feeling overwhelmed by sudden influx new details. "Yes," Dr. Collins continued cautiously. "These markers indicate potential predispositions toward specific health conditions." Suddenly, the realization hit him hard. This woman whom he had dismissed earlier possessed unique insights into her own health that deserved respect. A moment of regret. Feeling regret wash over him, Dr. Collins realized how wrong he had been. He had allowed biases cloud judgment, failing to recognize patients' worth beyond mere symptoms presented before him. "Ms. Johnson," he said sincerely, looking directly into her eyes now filled with empathy, "I apologize for not listening earlier. I should have taken your concerns more seriously." Sarah felt both anger and relief at his admission. It was frustrating knowing she had been dismissed, yet heartening knowing someone finally acknowledged struggle-faced navigating healthcare system. "It's okay," she replied softly, though still processing emotions swirling within. "I just want answers so I can move forward." A new path forward. From that moment on, the dynamic shifted dramatically between them. Dr. Collins began working collaboratively alongside Sarah, discussing potential treatment options, while also emphasizing importance understanding genetic factors influencing health outcomes. "I want to ensure you receive comprehensive care moving forward," he assured earnestly, while outlining steps necessary to address issues identified through testing. As they delved deeper into discussions surrounding treatment plans, Sarah felt empowered, knowing she could advocate for herself while also receiving support from medical professionals willing to listen. Community impact word spread quickly throughout St. Jude's Medical Center regarding David's experience. Colleagues began reflecting upon their own biases, recognizing need to foster environments where every patient felt valued, respected, regardless background. Inspired by this incident, hospital administration initiated training programs focused on implicit bias awareness, ensuring all staff understood importance treating patients holistically rather than reducing them mere statistics or symptoms. As changes took root within the institution, David became an advocate not only within Walls Hospital, but also throughout broader community. She began sharing story widely, encouraging others speak out against discrimination, while demanding equitable treatment across healthcare systems nationwide. A legacy of change. In time, David's journey transformed into something much larger than herself. It became part movement advocating for systemic change, addressing disparities within healthcare, impacting marginalized communities everywhere. Through advocacy efforts, including public speaking engagements workshops aimed at educating individuals about navigating healthcare systems effectively. David inspired countless others reclaim their voices while demanding respect, dignity they deserved. As months passed following initial encounter at St. Jude's Medical Center, community rallied behind David, amplifying message surrounding equity justice within healthcare, ensuring future generations wouldn't have endured same struggles faced today. The confrontation begins. As Sarah Johnson sat in the examination room at St. Jude's Medical Center, she felt a mix of anxiety and frustration. The sharp abdominal pain that had brought her to the hospital was still present, and she was eager for answers. When Dr. Richard Collins entered the room, he seemed preoccupied, his eyes glued to a clipboard rather than meeting her gaze. "Good afternoon," he said without much enthusiasm. "What seems to be the problem?" "I've been experiencing severe abdominal pain," Sarah replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "It started a few days ago and it's getting worse." Dr. Collins nodded but didn't seem fully engaged. He scribbled some notes without asking follow-up questions or showing genuine concern. Sarah felt a knot tighten in her stomach. This was not how she had hoped her visit would go. The dismissive attitude. As Sarah continued to explain her symptoms, Dr. Collins interrupted her with a wave of his hand. "Let's get some tests done," he said curtly. "I'll order blood work and an ultrasound." "Can you tell me what you think it might be?" Sarah asked, trying to gauge his thoughts on her condition. Dr. Collins glanced at her briefly before returning his focus to the clipboard. "It could be a number of things," he replied dismissively. "We'll know more once we have the results." Feeling dismissed, Sarah took a deep breath to calm herself. She had always been taught to advocate for her health, but something about Dr. Collins's demeanor made her feel small and unimportant. The arrival of the nurse. Just then, the nurse entered the room with a friendly smile, breaking the tension that had settled between them. "Hi, Sarah. I'm here to take your blood for testing," she said cheerfully. As the nurse prepared for the blood draw, Sarah felt grateful for this brief moment of warmth amidst her discomfort. "Thank you," she replied, appreciating the nurse's kindness. After the nurse finished taking blood samples and left the room, Dr. Collins stood up to leave as well. "I'll check back after we get your test results," he said without making eye contact again. "Wait," Sarah called out before he could exit. "Can we talk about my pain? I really need to understand what's going on." Dr. Collins paused but didn't turn back. "There's not much more I can say until we have results," he replied tersely before leaving. The waiting game left alone again, Sarah felt a wave of frustration wash over her. She had come to St. Jude's seeking help and understanding, but instead felt like just another case file in a busy clinic. As time passed, she found herself lost in thought about how often people like her faced similar dismissals in healthcare settings. She remembered stories from friends and family members who had encountered bias or indifference when seeking medical attention, especially those from marginalized backgrounds. The minutes turned into hours as she waited for test results, her discomfort growing more intense while anxiety began creeping in. A sudden change. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the door swung open again. This time it wasn't Dr. Collins who entered, but Officer Reynolds and Officer Martinez, the same officers who had mocked David outside Oakwood Plaza. "What are you doing here?" Sarah asked incredulously as they approached her bed. "We're just checking in," Officer Reynolds said casually, while glancing around room. "Checking in on what?" Sarah replied sharply, feeling uneasy about their presence. "Just making sure everything's all right," Officer Martinez added, with an air of false concern that only heightened Sarah's discomfort. Unwanted attention. The officers lingered longer than necessary, asking questions that felt intrusive rather than supportive. "Have you been feeling safe lately?" Officer Reynolds asked casually, as if probing for information unrelated her medical condition. "I'm here for medical reasons, not to discuss my safety," Sarah snapped, feeling frustrated by their presence. Realizing they were out of place, the officers exchanged glances before deciding it was time leave. "All right, then. Just wanted to make sure," Officer Martinez said dismissively as they exited room, leaving behind lingering tension. The doctor returns. Not long after they left, Dr. Collins returned with a serious expression on his face. "Sarah," he began cautiously while holding test results in hand, "we need to talk about your findings." Her heart raced. She hoped this would finally provide clarity regarding her pain. "What did you find?" she asked anxiously. Dr. Collins looked at her intently before continuing. "Your test shows some abnormalities that we need to investigate further, but first I want to address something important." The revelation. At that moment, everything changed. Dr. Collins took a deep breath before speaking again. "I want to apologize for my earlier behavior. I realize now I didn't treat you with the respect you deserve." Sarah blinked in surprise. She hadn't expected such an acknowledgement. "I've been reflecting on my approach today, and I recognize how dismissive I was during our initial conversation," he continued earnestly. "It was unprofessional, and I'm sorry." A mix of emotions flooded through Sarah. Relief, mingled with anger at how she had been treated earlier. "It's frustrating when people don't listen or take your concerns seriously," she replied cautiously, still processing his apology. "I understand completely, Doctor," Collins said sincerely, meeting her gaze directly this time. "And I want to ensure we address your health concerns properly moving forward." A moment of connection. For the first time during their interaction, Sarah felt seen as an individual rather than just another patient. She appreciated Dr. Collins's willingness to acknowledge his mistakes. It made her feel empowered in advocating for herself. "Thank you for saying that," she replied softly, feeling a sense of connection forming between them despite earlier tensions. "I want you to know that we will work together on this," Dr. Collins assured confidently, while outlining next steps necessary to address issues identified through testing. As they delved deeper into discussions surrounding treatment plans, Sarah felt empowered, knowing she could advocate for herself, while also receiving support from medical professionals willing. Listen. Community impact word spread quickly throughout St. Jude's Medical Center regarding David's experience. Colleagues began reflecting upon their own biases, recognizing need to foster environments where every patient felt valued, respected, regardless background. Inspired by this incident, hospital administration initiated training programs focused on implicit bias awareness, ensuring all staff understood importance treating patients holistically, rather than reducing them mere statistics or symptoms. As changes took root within institution, David became an advocate not only within Walls Hospital but also throughout broader community. She began sharing story, widely encouraging others speak out against discrimination, while demanding equitable treatment across healthcare systems nationwide. A legacy of change. In time, David's journey transformed into something much larger than herself. It became part movement, advocating for systemic change, addressing disparities within healthcare, impacting marginalized communities everywhere. Through advocacy efforts, including public speaking engagements, workshops aimed at educating individuals about navigating healthcare systems effectively, David inspired countless others reclaim their voices while demanding respect, dignity they deserved. As months passed following initial encounter at St. Jude's Medical Center, community rallied behind David, amplifying message surrounding equity justice within healthcare, ensuring future generations wouldn't have endured same struggles faced today. The ripple effect. In the days following her encounter with Dr. Collins, Sarah Johnson found herself reflecting on the experience. The initial humiliation had left a mark, but the subsequent acknowledgement from Dr. Collins had sparked something within her. A determination to advocate for herself and others who might face similar challenges in the healthcare system. Word about Sarah's experience spread quickly throughout her community. Friends and family reached out to express their support, and many shared their own stories of feeling dismissed or marginalized in medical settings. It became clear that Sarah's situation was not an isolated incident. It was part of a larger pattern of bias that affected many individuals, particularly those from marginalized backgrounds. Organizing community meetings, motivated by her experience and the stories she heard from others, Sarah decided to take action. She reached out to local organizations focused on social justice and healthcare equity, proposing a series of community meetings aimed at discussing experiences with healthcare and advocating for change. With the help of the Coalition for Justice, Sarah organized the first meeting at a local community center. Flyers were distributed throughout the neighborhood, inviting residents to share their experiences and contribute to a dialogue about improving healthcare access and equity. On the night of the meeting, attendees filled the room. Families, activists, healthcare professionals, and concerned citizens all gathered to discuss these important issues. The atmosphere was charged with energy as people exchanged stories and ideas. Sharing personal stories. As the meeting commenced, Sarah took a deep breath and stepped up to speak. "Thank you all for being here tonight," she began. "I want to share my story because I believe it's important for us to talk about our experiences in healthcare, especially when those experiences are negative." She recounted her visit to St. Jude's Medical Center, the pain she felt when Dr. Collins dismissed her concerns, and how that moment was compounded by the presence of police officers who had previously mocked David Thompson. As she spoke, she could see nods of understanding from the audience. Many had faced similar situations. One woman stood up after Sarah finished speaking. "I had a similar experience when I went to get treatment for my daughter," she shared tearfully. "The doctor didn't listen to my concerns about her symptoms because he assumed I was just being an overprotective mom." The room fell silent as others began sharing their own stories, each one echoing themes of dismissal and bias that resonated deeply within those present. A collective resolve. As more voices joined in sharing their experiences, the crowd grew increasingly energized. The atmosphere shifted from one of sadness to one filled with determination, a collective resolve emerging among attendees. "I think we need to create a task force," suggested a young man named Marcus, who had been actively involved in local activism. "We can work together to address these issues directly with our healthcare providers." The idea sparked excitement in the room. People began brainstorming ways they could collaborate on initiatives aimed at improving healthcare access and advocating for equitable treatment. Sarah felt a surge of hope as she listened to everyone's ideas. This was what she had envisioned, a community coming together to demand change. Formulating an action plan. By the end of the meeting, they had formulated an action plan that included creating a community task force. This group would consist of residents willing to engage with local healthcare providers about issues related to bias and discrimination. Organizing workshops. They would hold educational workshops focused on navigating healthcare systems effectively, equipping individuals with knowledge about their rights as patients. Advocating for policy changes. The task force would work towards advocating for policy changes within local hospitals aimed at reducing implicit bias among medical staff. Building alliances with healthcare providers. They plan to reach out to local healthcare providers, inviting them participate in discussions surrounding equity in care. Taking action. With their plan in place, Sarah and Marcus took charge of organizing subsequent meetings. They reached out various community organizations, seeking partnerships while also promoting events through social media platforms. As weeks passed, the movement gained momentum. More residents joined their efforts, eager to contribute ideas while sharing personal stories, highlighting importance advocating change collectively rather than individually. Sarah felt invigorated by this progress. She knew they were making strides toward creating lasting impact within their community. The first workshop took place at the community center just a month after their initial meeting. Attendees filled chairs, eager to learn how best navigate healthcare systems while also understanding rights as patients. Sarah opened up the session by sharing her own story again, this time emphasizing lessons learned from her experience. "It's crucial that we advocate for ourselves," she told participants passionately. "We deserve respect from our healthcare providers." The workshop included interactive discussions where participants practiced how to communicate effectively with doctors while also addressing any concerns regarding treatment options. As attendees engaged in role-playing scenarios, laughter filled room as they navigated difficult conversations while also empowering one another through shared experiences, building momentum. As word spread about these workshops, more individuals began attending each session. Local news outlets even caught wind of their efforts, covering stories, highlighting grassroots movements advocating for equity within healthcare. Sarah was approached by reporters eager to hear more about initiative. She gladly shared insights, emphasizing importance raising awareness surrounding biases faced by marginalized communities. "By coming together, we can create real change," she stated confidently during one interview. "Our voices matter, and we will be heard." A growing coalition. With each passing week, the coalition continued growing stronger, culminating into larger rallies planned downtown, aimed raising awareness surrounding healthcare disparities impacting communities nationwide. Sarah worked tirelessly coordinating logistics, ensuring events would be impactful, meaningful experiences attendees, while also amplifying voices often overlooked mainstream narratives surrounding race relations, healthcare practices. She envisioned rallies serving not only platforms highlight concerns, but also celebrations, resilient strength exhibited by those fighting injustice, every day reminding everyone involved they weren't alone, facing challenges. However, not everything went smoothly. Challenges emerged as opposition began surfacing from individuals resistant change, often dismissing concerns raised marginalized communities. Some critics labeled workshops disruptive, claiming they undermined safety within neighborhoods, while others attempted to downplay significant issues surrounding racial profiling. Angela remained undeterred, refusing to let negativity deter momentum built over past months. Instead, focusing energy, uplifting voices often silenced. She organized counter-events, emphasizing importance dialogue, fostering understanding, bridging gaps between differing perspectives, encouraging empathy, compassion among all participants involved. A legacy built together. As summer turned into fall, the movement continued gaining strength, culminating into larger rallies planned downtown, aimed raising awareness surrounding police reform issues impacting communities nationwide. David worked tirelessly coordinating logistics, ensuring events would be impactful, meaningful experiences attendees, while also amplifying voices often overlooked mainstream narratives surrounding race relations, policing practices. She envisioned rallies serving not only platforms highlight concerns, but also celebrations, resilience, strength exhibited by those fighting injustice every day, reminding everyone involved they weren't alone. With each passing week, the anticipation grew, excitement palpable among organizers, participants alike, ready stand united, demanding respect, dignity, equality, everyone regardless background or circumstance. The community rally. As the sun rose on a crisp Saturday morning, excitement buzzed through the air in downtown. Sarah Johnson and her allies had organized a community rally aimed at raising awareness about healthcare disparities and advocating for equitable treatment. Banners adorned with slogans like "Healthcare for All" and "Every Voice Matters" fluttered in the gentle breeze, creating a vibrant atmosphere filled with hope and determination. Sarah arrived early to help set up alongside members of the Coalition for Justice. They had worked tirelessly to promote this event, reaching out to local organizations, schools, and community centers to ensure a strong turnout. As people began to gather, she felt a surge of pride. This was more than just a rally. It was a testament to their collective strength. A diverse gathering. The crowd quickly grew, consisting of families, activists, healthcare professionals, and concerned citizens. Children ran around with painted faces, while adults engaged in conversations about their experiences with healthcare. Sarah looked around and saw familiar faces, friends who had supported her from the beginning, as well as new allies who had joined the cause. As the rally commenced, Sarah took a moment to breathe deeply and soak in the atmosphere. This was her community coming together, united by a common purpose, to demand justice and equality in healthcare. Opening remarks. When it was time for speeches to begin, Sarah stepped up to the microphone, her heart racing with anticipation. "Thank you all for being here today," she began, her voice strong and clear. "We are here because we believe in justice. We are here because we believe in accountability." The crowd erupted into cheers as Sarah continued passionately sharing her vision for change within their community. She spoke about her own experience at St. Jude's Medical Center, the pain of being dismissed by Dr. Collins, and the subsequent journey she had undertaken to advocate for herself and others. "This isn't just about my story," she declared. "It's about all of us standing together against injustice. It's about ensuring that every individual receives the respect and care they deserve." Voices from the community. After Sarah's opening remarks, several speakers took turns sharing their personal stories related to encounters with healthcare providers. Each narrative added depth to the conversation, highlighting how systemic racism and bias permeated various aspects of life within their community. One woman spoke about her struggles to find adequate care for her elderly mother, who faced discrimination due to her race. Another man shared his experience of being denied treatment because of assumptions made about his lifestyle based on his appearance. As each speaker shared their story, the crowd listened intently, nodding in agreement and offering words of encouragement. The atmosphere shifted from one of sadness to one filled with determination, a collective resolve emerging among attendees. A moment of unity. As more voices joined in sharing their experiences, the crowd grew increasingly energized. The atmosphere shifted from one of sadness to one filled with determination, a collective resolve emerging among attendees. When it was finally David's turn to speak, he stepped up nervously but felt empowered by all those present supporting him. "Thank you all for coming today," he began slowly but confidently. "I stand here not just as someone who faced humiliation, but also as someone who believes we can create change together." He recounted his experience at Oakwood Plaza, the laughter from officers who had underestimated him, and how it ignited something within him, a desire not only advocate change, but also inspire others take action, reclaim their power. "I want our children, our future, to know they are valued, respected," he continued passionately. "We must work together, ensure they don't face what I faced." The crowd erupted into applause once again, his words resonating deeply within everyone present. The call to action. After David's speech concluded, the organizers called for everyone present sign petitions demanding police reform, while also encouraging them participate in upcoming meetings where they could continue discussing strategies moving forward. As people lined up eagerly signing petitions, Angela felt immense pride knowing they were taking tangible steps toward accountability. "Let's make our voices heard," she urged enthusiastically. "Together we can create real change." Media coverage. As news crews captured footage throughout rally, their cameras panned over smiling faces holding signs aloft in solidarity. Local news stations broadcast segments featuring interviews with witnesses, highlighting both David's advocacy along with powerful message behind standing up against prejudice. Angela was approached by reporters eager to hear her side things again. She agreed interviews using each opportunity advocate change, raise awareness about systemic racism policing practices. "This isn't just about what happened at Oakwood Plaza," she reiterated during one interview with a local news anchor. "This is about all of us standing together against injustice." The aftermath. In the days following rally, David's efforts began yielding results. The petition quickly gained traction, thousands signing online while local organizations rallied behind cause-amplifying message throughout city. Angela worked closely with the Coalition for Justice, ensuring voices marginalized communities remained central discussions surrounding police reform initiatives. Together, they organized additional meetings where residents could come together, share experiences, discuss strategies addressing systemic racism head-on. As conversations unfolded, it became clear many individuals felt similarly marginalized, often experiencing bias during encounters. Police. A growing movement. With growing momentum behind them, the group decided to launch an initiative aimed raising awareness surrounding racial profiling, police misconduct. They planned rallies inviting community members participate while also reaching out local businesses support cause. The first rally would be held outside Oakwood Plaza, a symbolic gesture reminding everyone involved how far they'd come since initial incident, while also demanding accountability from law enforcement agencies. As preparations unfolded, excitement buzzed through air. Flyers were distributed throughout neighborhoods, encouraging residents to join fight against injustice, while amplifying voices often overlooked mainstream narratives surrounding race relations policing practices. Angela felt invigorated knowing together they could create lasting impact within community, ensuring future generations wouldn't have endured same struggles experienced today. Facing challenges. However, not everything went smoothly. Challenges emerged as opposition began surfacing from individuals resistant change, often dismissing concerns raised marginalized communities. Some critics labeled protests disruptive, claiming they undermined safety within neighborhoods, while others attempted to downplay significant issues surrounding racial profiling. Angela remained undeterred, refusing let negativity deter momentum built over past months, instead focusing energy uplifting voices often silenced. She organized counter-events, emphasizing importance dialogue, fostering understanding bridging gaps between differing perspectives, encouraging empathy, compassion among all participants involved. Building bridges. One notable event took place at a local high school, a forum where students were invited to engage in discussions regarding race relations policing practices. Angela collaborated closely with educators, ensuring curriculum included topics related to social justice, empowering students understand complexities surrounding these issues, while also encouraging them speak out against injustices. During forum, students shared personal stories, experiences, related encounters, law enforcement often highlighting feelings, fear, vulnerability faced when interacting authority figures. One student named Jordan spoke passionately recounting how friends had been stopped unjustly simply walking home after school. "I don't understand why this happens," he exclaimed, frustratedly shaking head. "Why can't we just walk without being scared?" His words resonated deeply within room, prompting nods agreement among peers gathered listening intently. Angela encouraged open dialogue, allowing students express concerns while also providing resources, empowering them. Take action, advocate change within own communities. By end evening, students left feeling inspired, motivated, ready to tackle challenges ahead, while recognizing importance, standing together, fighting injustice wherever encountered. A legacy of change. As summer rolled into fall, the movement continued gaining strength, culminating into larger rallies planned. Downtown, aimed raising awareness surrounding police reform issues impacting communities nationwide. Angela worked tirelessly, coordinating logistics, ensuring events would be impactful, meaningful experiences. Attendees, while also amplifying voices, often overlooked mainstream narratives surrounding race relations policing practices. She envisioned rallies serving not only platforms highlight concerns, but also celebrations. Resilience, strength exhibited by those fighting injustice every day, reminding everyone involved they weren't alone. With each passing week, the anticipation grew, excitement palpable among organizers, participants alike, ready stand united, demanding respect, dignity, equality, everyone regardless background or circumstance. The impact of the rally. In the weeks following the rally at Oakwood Plaza, Sarah Johnson and her allies noticed a significant shift in their community. The energy that had filled the mall parking lot was now a steady hum of activism, with residents more engaged than ever in discussions about racial justice and healthcare reform. The petition they had launched began to gain traction, with thousands of signatures pouring in from both local supporters and individuals across the country who resonated with their cause. Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose as she met with members of the Coalition for Justice to strategize their next steps. They discussed how to maintain momentum and keep the conversation alive in local media. "We need to ensure that our demands for change don't fade into the background," she said during one meeting. "This is just the beginning." Building alliances. With growing support from various community organizations and local businesses, Sarah began to build alliances that would strengthen their movement. She reached out to other activists who had been involved in similar efforts across the city, inviting them to collaborate on initiatives aimed at addressing systemic racism in healthcare. One such partnership formed with Youth for Justice, a group of young activists dedicated to empowering their peers through education and advocacy. Together, they organized workshops focused on understanding rights during healthcare encounters, teaching young people how to navigate interactions with medical professionals safely. Sarah also collaborated with local schools to implement programs that educated students about social justice issues. She believed that by equipping the next generation with knowledge and tools for advocacy, they could create lasting change. Facing challenges. Despite the progress being made, challenges still loomed large. Sarah faced backlash from some community members who felt threatened by the changes being proposed. There were accusations that her efforts would lead to increased crime or that they undermined healthcare providers' ability to do their jobs effectively. Sarah remained steadfast in her commitment to fostering dialogue and understanding. She organized community forums where residents could express their concerns openly and engage in constructive conversations about healthcare access and equity. "It's important that we listen to each other," Sarah emphasized during one such forum. "We can't move forward if we're not willing to engage with differing perspectives." A turning point. As tension simmered, a significant turning point arrived when Sarah received an invitation from the City Council to present her proposal for healthcare reform directly to local government officials. This was an opportunity she had been working toward since the rally, and she knew it could be pivotal in advancing their cause. On the day of her presentation, Sarah gathered her notes and took a deep breath before stepping into the council chamber. The room was filled with city officials, community leaders, and members of the public eager to hear what she had to say. As she stood before them, she felt a mix of nerves and determination. "Thank you for allowing me this opportunity," she began. "Today, I am here not just as a social worker, but as a representative of my community, a community that deserves respect and equitable health care." Presenting her proposal. Sarah outlined her proposal clearly and passionately, detailing each recommendation aimed at improving healthcare access and addressing bias. Mandatory implicit bias training. She emphasized the need for comprehensive training programs focused on recognizing and addressing implicit biases among healthcare providers. Community oversight committees. Sarah advocated for independent committees comprised of community members tasked with overseeing healthcare practices and ensuring accountability. Transparent reporting. She called for healthcare institutions to publicly report data on patient demographics, treatment outcomes, and patient satisfaction surveys to identify disparities. Outreach programs. Sarah urged for regular outreach initiatives aimed at educating marginalized communities about their rights within healthcare systems. "I believe these changes will foster trust between patients and providers," Sarah concluded passionately. "We can create a safer environment for everyone if we work together." Responses from officials. As she finished her presentation, there was a moment of silence in the chamber before several council members began nodding in agreement. They had not expected such a compelling argument from someone they had previously underestimated. "Thank you for your insights today, Sarah," one council member said sincerely. "We recognize that there are significant issues within our healthcare practices that need addressing." Another official added, "We appreciate your commitment to this cause and your willingness to engage constructively with us." Sarah felt a surge of hope as discussions began among council members about how best to implement these changes. While there were still skeptics in the room, many seemed genuinely interested in finding solutions. Community support. In the days following her presentation, Sarah received overwhelming support from her community. Social media buzzed with messages of encouragement as residents rallied behind her efforts. Local news outlets covered the story extensively, highlighting not only Sarah's advocacy, but also the growing movement for healthcare equity across the city. Sarah organized another community meeting where residents could share their thoughts on her recent presentation and discuss next steps. The turnout was impressive. People filled the room eager to contribute ideas and show solidarity. During this meeting, one resident suggested creating a coalition of local businesses committed to supporting social justice initiatives. "If we can get more businesses involved," he said enthusiastically, "we can amplify our message even further." Expanding their reach, with renewed energy behind them, Sarah worked closely with the Coalition for Justice to expand their reach beyond just local efforts. They began connecting with national organizations focused on healthcare reform, seeking guidance while also sharing their own experiences as part grassroots movement, advocating change. They organized webinars featuring experts discussing effective strategies for engaging communities around issues-related healthcare access, ensuring everyone understood importance advocating change collectively rather than individually. As word spread about these initiatives, more individuals joined forces eager lend support, amplifying voices often overlooked mainstream narratives surrounding race relations healthcare practices. A growing movement. As fall turned into winter, the movement continued gaining strength, culminating into larger rallies planned downtown, aimed raising awareness surrounding healthcare disparities, impacting communities nationwide. Sarah worked tirelessly coordinating logistics, ensuring events would be impactful. Meaningful experiences attendees, while also amplifying voices, often overlooked mainstream narratives surrounding race relations, healthcare practices. She envisioned rallies serving not only platforms highlight concerns, but also celebrations, resilient strength exhibited by those fighting injustice every day, reminding everyone involved they weren't alone. With each passing week, the anticipation grew, excitement palpable among organizers, participants alike, ready stand united, demanding respect, dignity, equality, everyone regardless background or circumstance. Reflections on progress. As Sarah reflected on journey taken since initial incident at St. Jude's Medical Center, she felt immense pride, knowing had sparked movement empowering countless individuals across city come together fight against systemic racism. While challenges remained ahead, she believed firmly, power collective action. Reminding herself every step forward mattered toward creating equitable society where everyone treated fairly respected regardless background or circumstance. Together, they would continue advocating change, ensuring future generations wouldn't have endure same struggles experienced today. In this ever-evolving landscape filled hope possibility, their legacy would serve beacon guiding those willing embrace change, championing inclusivity. Equity workplaces everywhere,